恭敬大德圣听，为此法会集一切众生，请转妙法轮教导我们如何了生脱死，离苦得乐，顺真无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sadanto suchetoye alahati sanmyao sanputoche. Wu shang shen shen wei miao fa. Bai qian wan jie nan zao yi. 我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a billion eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Noble Master, and all good knowing advisors, welcome back to class number 86 as we explore the Dharma using the Medicine Master Buddha as our foundation, which means for those of you who have joined us halfway through maybe some of these classes, we haven't really got read from the Medicine Master Buddha Sutra yet, because I have taken the opportunity at this part of the sutra because the sutta speaks about rebirth. So you are exploring all the different ways you can be born in the Dharma realm. So we have so far explored from the most unfortunate of rebirths, which are the hells, all the way through the different forms of birth in the spirit realms, and then now we are in the heavens. We are halfway through the heavens, and I think hopefully today we can finish the heaven, the Trimsha heaven, or the heaven of the 33, and then we can progress to the other heavens. I think from here on, the other heavens will take less time to go through because how you say, their encounters with human beings are a lot less. Yeah, the only encounters are in the Mahayana, great Mahayana sutras where the Buddha teaches, and then they are part of the audience, but their participation in the human realm is very, very minimal compared to, say, the heaven of the 4 great kings or the heaven of the 33 or Triumphant heaven that we are looking at, that we've been looking at for the past few weeks. Okay, but before we do that, let's recite Medicine Master Buddha's name 7 times. Namo, quelling disasters, lengthening life, Medicine Master Buddha. 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 Namo, quelling disasters, lengthening life, Medicine Master Buddha Namo, quelling disasters, lengthening life, medicine master, Buddha Namo, quelling disasters, lengthening life, medicine master, Buddha, medicine master, does come one. Medicine master does come one. Medicine master does come one. Medicine master does come one. Okay, let me get today's slides. I think that might have been 8 times. Was anyone counting? Okay, anyway, while I'm getting slides for today, Ron has a question. Ron's question is, where do all this information about the heavens come from? Is that right, Ron? More or less, is that your question?
I'm just curious. That's all. Like, how did it get from the heavens, down into a sutra? Or I
Okay,
guess it's in the sutra, right?
yes. So
Okay.
first of all, Ron, when he asked his question, he said he has no doubt that whatever he's listening to is true. Ron, that's not a very skillful way. The Buddha taught us, or when we listen to the sutras or when we listen to the Dharma, the Buddha taught us this is what is known as the 4 great references. And I think all Buddhists should know this because this will prevent you from falling into, this will prevent you from following teachers who are unscrupulous or teachers who are outside of the Dharma. So basically, the Buddha said, when you listen to the Dharma, whether it is from one monk, a small group of monks, a large group of monks, or a very large group of monks, and they are all very learned, they're all very senior, they have a good reputation. The Buddha said, don't accept it blindly, okay? But at the same time, also you don't reject, you don't be skeptical. So basically you keep an open mind. And then the Buddha says, you have to go back to the sutras themselves. You have to go back to the sutras and you have to go back to the Vinaya. The Vinaya is where the precepts are explained. Then find out for yourself if what you hear is correct or wrong. That's the Buddha's instructions. Okay, so all right. So having said that, all these stories that we have about the heavens come from directly from the sutras, where it is the Buddha speaking, or sometimes they are Bodhisattva speaking. That's one. The second one is a lot of it are recounted by monks, because once you have gained some proficiency in through your practice, and you have your spiritual penetrations or spiritual powers available to you, then you yourself will be able to visit the heavens. And as a result of the Buddha's recounting of the heavens, as well as other people's recollection of the heavens, including the Buddha's disciples, we have all this information about the heavens available to us. All right, so that's where it comes from. And there's actually a compilation called the Vimana. Let me see. Let me find the exact. Vimanawatu. Vimanawatu is a collection of encounters between the Buddha's disciples and the heavenly beings, mostly from the heaven of the 4 kings and the Triumphrimsha heaven. They encounter the devas or the gods, and then they ask them what they did to have become, to enjoy the heavenly rebirth. Yeah, and let me see, there is, if I'm not mistaken, let me see how many stories there are. 53, at least in the edition that I have, 53 stories about the Buddha's disciples questioning gods that they meet, how they became gods. Yeah. Okay. So we will start today with a repeat from what we did not get to finish from last week. And this is why I'm doing it. Ron, do you have anything else?
I just
No?
want to
Okay.
say thank you for allowing me to ask these mundane questions. But if I don't ask, you know what? I'll just be like a dead log, you know. I'm just stoking my interest in this stuff, you know. That's why I take this class so that I could learn more. So please
Okay.
forgive me if I seem offensive, but I'm not. I'm not trying to do anything but to stoke my interest and like hopefully stoke the interest in other people in the class, that we should be questioning stuff so that we can all learn from each other.
Yes. A lot of the questions in the sutras are always asked by the Buddha's disciples, not because they don't know the answer, they know the answer, but they ask for the benefit of people who don't know the answer or they don't even know how to ask. So questions are really, really, really important when you learn the Dharma, because like for example, today, what we're going to explore together, if you don't ask questions, it's just theory. It's not Dharma until you try to figure it out by yourself. And until then, it is just someone else's theories or, it's just a theory. It's not your Dharma yet. Okay, so yes, please ask questions. Don't worry about mundane or not mundane, because there's no such thing. Any question is a good question. And I always welcome questions because questions make the Dharma come alive. Yeah, I prefer answering questions basically. Yeah, as someone who I really like the Dharma, so I prefer to answer questions rather than to present the Dharma itself. Okay, so where did we leave off last week? Well, it all started with this sutra called the Sakkapanha Sutta, which means chakras questions. And this is a very important sutra because this is when Chakra became a stream enterer. He became a first stage arhat. And the reason, the reason we got into this sutra is because last week we looked at how Chakra lovingly tended cat for the Buddha when the Buddha was sick. And the monks were very surprised because to gods, to devas, humans don't smell very good. The human body is not a very clean thing. So the monks were amazed. And then the Buddha said, yes, Lord Chakra is very affectionate to the Buddha. And the Buddha said it is because Lord Chakra became a stream enterer, a first stage arhat. And because of that, he was very grateful for the Buddha. So today we're going to explore the exact sutra or the exact questions that Chakra asked the Buddha and as a result became enlightened, and how he expressed his gratitude and his happiness to the Buddha. So it all started with Lord Chakra asking the question, what are beings bound by and what is that imprisons us? And at that time, he was still, you could say, a regular god. He was king of the Trimtrimsha heaven, the heaven of the 33, but he wasn't a sage yet. He was just, just a regular god. So the Buddha answered it was jealousy and greed, which is caused by liking and disliking. And that in turn is caused by having desire, which is caused by our thoughts. And our thoughts come from our false thinking, which is based on craving, based on conceit and wrong views. Okay, so the Buddha explained that. And then going on, Lord Chakra asked another question. He said, but how does a mendicant fittingly practice for the cessation of concepts of identity, etc., etc.? Basically, he's asking the Buddha. He doesn't just ask how do you end false thinking. He says, how does a mendicant end false thinking? Because mendicant means with the intention of ending birth and death. You want to be a full sage. So then the Buddha explained, okay, you want to end false thinking? Okay, this is how you do it. And the Buddha says there are two kinds of happiness. That's which you should cultivate and that's which you should not cultivate. In other words, happiness, there are wholesome forms of happiness and unwholesome forms of happiness. And it's not just happiness. The Buddha also spoke about sadness and then equanimity. 3 things: happiness, sadness, equanimity. I have problems pronouncing that. Equanimity, okay. And each of them have 2 kinds: wholesome and unwholesome. And the Buddha said, of course, you should cultivate the wholesome and be mindful of the unwholesome and don't pursue the unwholesome. Okay. So what is wholesome and unwholesome? Then the Buddha said, why did I say there are 2 kinds of happiness? I'm not so much rushing. I'm just quickly reading all this because we already covered this last week, but we kind of need it for proper context for this week as well. So it says, what are the 2 kinds of happiness? The Buddha said, well, you should know of a happiness when I cultivate this kind of happiness. Unskillful qualities grow and skillful qualities decline. Buddha said, you should not cultivate that kind of happiness. And Buddha says, whereas you should know of a happiness when I cultivate this kind of happiness, unskillful qualities decline and skillful qualities grow. You should cultivate that kind of happiness. And that which is free of placing the mind and keeping it connected is better than that which involves placing the mind, keeping it connected. Okay, I just realized I was supposed this sentence doesn't make a lot of sense. I think there's a typo. Last week I said I would investigate. I totally forgot. I'm sorry. But through the next few slides, we will understand what is going on. Okay, so let's unpack what the Buddha said. Okay. So the Buddha said, yeah, so throughout the sutra, based on Chakra's questions, I have summarized it. So basically, the Buddha said, if you look at the list, happiness or pleasant feelings, okay, there are 2 kinds. And then sadness or unpleasant feelings, there are also 2 kinds. And then there's equanimity or being indifferent. And then there's body conduct, verbal conduct, pursuit of goals. I will elaborate what pursuit of goals means. And then the Buddha talks about the 6 senses, which are, the 6 sense objects, which are sights, which we see, and then sounds, smells, taste, touch, and thoughts that are generated from our mind. And the Buddha says all this, there are 2 kinds. Okay, so what are the 2 kinds? All right, let's look at happy or pleasant feelings that are unwholesome first. In another sutra, the Buddha calls this lay happiness, because this is, or you can say it's mundane happiness. It's not transcendental happiness. Okay, what are these? Buddha says there are sights, sounds, smells, there's taste, touch, and thoughts. Sight, sound, smells. Oh, it's missing taste. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. Oh, that's correct. Sights, sounds, smells, touch, and thoughts. Wait, my mind isn't working. You see, you hear, you smell, your body.
Master, the sense of taste is not there.
Yeah, but I count 6. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, sorry. How did I count 6? Okay, there's only 5. Okay, so what's missing on the screen is I was so confused. Taste. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. What's wrong with me? Okay, so there's sight, sound, smells, taste, touch, and thoughts. So that makes up 6 that are likable, desirable, agreeable, pleasing, connected with the world's material delights. Happiness arises when you regard it as a gain to obtain such sight, sound, smells, taste, touch, and thoughts, or when you recollect those you formerly obtained that have passed, ceased, and perished. So it's not just what you're experiencing right now that makes you happy, but you think back, like, oh, last year I went on this vacation, or I had, I don't know, some really nice food or whatever it is that, or you bought a new car or your new house, and you think back and that made you happy. That's included. Okay, so what are things that makes one happy? Well, it is rooted from the six senses. That's how the Buddha explained. So things that will make you happy but fall into the category of being unwholesome would be good, delicious food, sexual things, fame, sleep, for example. What else? Money, getting what you want, that promotion, or making new friends. Those are things that make you happy and gives you pleasant feelings. Buying a new bed, for example, a new mattress, a very comfortable mattress, or a new sofa set. The moment you sit on it, it's this is so comfortable. You feel so good. Things like that. But why is it unwholesome? Well, because this kind of joy, this kind of happiness does not last at all. It is impermanent. It is impermanent because it is conditioned. Why is it conditioned? It's conditioned because it's dependent on something else. Your happiness, not only is that item itself dependent on other factors to come together to become that item, say like a sofa set, but your happiness is also dependent on that particular item being that item. And all those things that I just described is impermanent. Your feelings towards things change, your relationship with things change, so it's impermanent. The things that you possess change, they may not last. They may slow, in the case of electronic equipment, they may slow down or they may break down, and things just don't last. So what happens is, because the feelings that we have, this happiness is very fleeting, it comes and it goes. It's not very satisfying, and it only leads to more craving, because once you have a taste of this happiness, if you don't get it again, it leads to frustration. It just makes you unhappy and you just want more. Or you achieve what you want, but you get used to it. That, again, impermanence, you get used to it, and then you want something better now. And this constant striving just leads to more false thinking about how to get what you want. And it's a never-ending cycle. And that's why it is considered as unwholesome. Also, for someone really caught up in this cycle, it makes it very, very difficult to sit and recite the Buddha's name or to meditate. For some people, if they find out they just won the lottery and you say, okay, you just won the lottery, now come, let's go sit down, meditate and recite Buddha's name. I can bet you for the whole 1 hour, they'll be thinking about how to spend the money instead of recollecting the Buddha, right? Yeah. So unwholesome. That's why it's unwholesome. It only leads you back to birth and death. It might be happiness, but it only brings you back to birth and death. And that's very important for chakra to hear, because as the Lord of the Heaven of the 33, most of his time is filled with happiness, but it's not, it's considered unwholesome happiness. All right. Okay, now let's move on to wholesome happiness. What's wholesome happiness? So the Buddha said, when you've understood the impermanence of sights, sounds, smells, again, taste is missing because I just copy and paste. I'm so sorry. So it is sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and thoughts. Okay, 6 things, the 6 sense objects. Buddha says, when you understood their perishing, their fading away, and the cessation, happiness arises as you truly understand through right understanding. There's a keyword there, right understanding, that both formerly and now all those sights are impermanent, suffering, and perishable. Such happiness is called renunciate happiness or wholesome happiness. So what does that mean? Okay. In the commentaries, they break it up into 4 categories. Okay. What are the 4 categories? Well, it is the joy of renouncing worldly affairs. Okay, that's the first category. Then the second one, the joy associated with insight practice. That's meditation. Then number 3, the joy based on contemplation of the Buddha and the Dharma. Okay. And number 4 is the joy resulting from the absorption in the first dhyana. Okay, what are all this? Okay, let's unpack each of this. Okay, what is the joy of renounce due to renunciation of worldly affairs? Okay, when you understand or realize that everything is impermanent, what does impermanent mean? It means that you can't depend on it. Okay, it means that you know that it's going to fail you one day and your relationship with it is going to change. So whatever feelings of attraction you have for that thing is not going to last. So for example, like, what does that mean? What is an example? Well, say you buy a lottery ticket, okay, and someone who does not understand what is the difference between wholesome and unwholesome happiness, they buy a lottery ticket and then they find out that they've won the first prize, a big amount, maybe like, I don't know, what's a big amount, $500 million. Recently, there was a huge lottery payout in the US. I don't remember how much it was, but let's just say a ridiculous amount, $500 million. All right. And it makes this person like really happy. And then the next day, the person finds out that, oh, either he misread the result or something else, but he didn't actually win. So it's impermanent. Okay, I know that's an extreme case of impermanence, but I'm trying to make an example here. Okay, compared to someone buys a lottery ticket and before they check the results, someone tells them, okay, what's going to happen is this: you just bought a lottery ticket, you're going to check the result, but because you're not very careful, you're going to think that you've won first prize. But if you check again, or if you look at another source, or when you call the company, they're going to tell you that actually there was a mistake and the ticket that you have is not valid and you didn't win anything at all. In fact, you lose money because you paid for the ticket and you end up with nothing. So this is what it means when you, so this person, okay, is not going to get happy when they find out they won the first prize because they know, oh, okay, I've already been told. So there's no joy at all because they know it's not going to last, okay? That may not be a perfect example, but basically this is what I'm trying to illustrate. When if anyone has a better example, please unmute your mic and share. Okay. So basically that's what it feels like when you realize you cannot depend on things because they change on you, either your own feelings or the object itself or the relationship that you're in, because everything changes. So you tend then not to see the world through rose-tinted glasses and you're a bit more grounded. So that's what it means, the joy due to renunciation of worldly affairs. So you realize that our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our experience of things, even our memories, they change. They don't stay the same. They're not reliable. Fame, recognition, the objects that we own, everything changes. Things that used to be important to us may not be important to us anymore now. Yeah. Another way of understanding what it feels like to have a joy due to renunciation of worldly affairs is through freedom. For example, say you have a problem with substance addiction, no matter what it is, and then one day you finally manage to get yourself free from it, like really free. You're no longer threatened by it anymore, and you feel a sense of joy. Or you pay off a loan, you no longer owe anyone or any institution any money anymore. You're free from that burden of having to pay back every month. So that's the kind of joy that we are kind of looking at. Yeah. Another form of freedom, of joy due to renunciation of worldly affairs. Some people get that when okay, when you leave home, that's one of the feelings you get. I remember being at the city of 10,000 Buddhas in the Buddha hall for the first time, very first time, sitting down at the city of 10,000 Buddhas. And I was just sitting there. There wasn't anything going on. I was just sitting in the Buddha hall. And then I realized something was different, but I wasn't quite sure what was different. I just felt very different. And then I realized that, oh, for the first time in a long, long time, I realized I did not have to make any more plans about what I was going to do for the weekend. Or actually, I'm not sure if this was my first time sitting in the Buddha hall, but this was definitely within the first month of me being at CDTB. Sitting in the Buddha hall when I acutely became aware of something was different, and I kind of wondered what was different, and I realized I don't have to make plans anymore for the weekend or to meet up with friends, because I don't have how you say, there are no more that kind of relationships anymore in CDTB. I didn't have any bills to pay. I did not have a phone where I had to check my messages. I did not have any obligations where I had to check my emails, to know if I had to answer any questions or anything like that. What else? I did not have to worry about food, what to eat, because everything came from the dining hall, and what time you are supposed to go and eat. And what else? I did not have to worry about a place to stay. No bills, no social obligations, none of all those things. So there's a certain joy of freedom that comes from that. You can get that from joining sessions. You come to the monastery for meditation session, and you live there for one whole week, or you join a retreat, and during those times you're free of taking care of your children or your spouse, and you just feel calm. Okay. Then number 2 is the joy associated with insight practice. This is where you learn how to control the mind. So there's a story which I shared a few, or anecdote which I shared a few classes ago. When under Venerable Shariputra, he had a very young novice, I think maybe barely in his early teens. And this young novice was walking through a field, and he saw the farmers working the field. He realized the farmers were, how would I say, controlling is not the word, but I think they were shaping the land to their requirements so that they could plant crops. So they were diverting water, they were tilling the land or leveling the land to make it suitable for farming. And this young novice monk thought to himself, he says, if farmers can control the land in such a way, I should be able to shape and control my own mind. And because of that, because he had that thought, he meditated, and he actually became a arhat, a full sage. So that's a joy associated with insight practice. You learn how to become less dependent on the outside world to define who you are. You learn that you are not your job, your career. You are not how much money you're not defined by how much money you have. You learn that a source of happiness and well-being can come from not from outside of yourself, but from within yourself. As your mind calms down, you learn that your relationships are you can be defined instead of through career or through how other people see you or through success and all that. You learn how to define yourself through being better at your relationships, through your roles in life, to become a better person in those ways. So that's the joy associated with insight practice. And then number 3 is joy based on. Ron, you have a question? Yes, Ron.
I just want to get an understanding of the phrase renunciate happiness using your example of the lottery ticket. So suppose I buy a lot. Okay, so the renunciated happiness, may I say that if I use that example of the lottery ticket, I buy a lottery ticket, but I say to myself, you know what? If I win, that's great. If I don't, it's okay too. Would that be kind of like a renunciated happiness?
Close, I would say close but no cigar, meaning that,
Okay.
yeah, meaning that if you really have the renunciate um, happiness, you won't even buy a lottery ticket in the first place because you would view the result of the lottery ticket as being impermanent.
Okay.
So you would have also seen through the value of money, for example. That's why it's called renunciate. You see through things. So that includes money as well.
But you,
Yeah.
but this last comment means that you see through everything all the way through. Like I only saw through, like you know, buying the ticket, but not letting it, not worrying about the results. But you're saying don't even buy the ticket to begin with. And
Yeah, because you won't even think about buying the ticket because thoughts of winning the lottery would not even come to you.
Okay, got it. Okay.
But that's an extreme example. That's why the Buddha calls it renunciate happiness. It's not for everyone, but you work to get there. So in your case, you're probably at the level where, okay, you still have that urge to win something, but your happiness is not truly controlled if you lose.
Right.
But if you win, you're going to be extremely happy.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I know I'm just human, you know.
Yeah. But if you had renunciate happiness, okay, and you were at that level and you had the ticket and you won the lottery, you will give all the money away and still be equally happy.
Okay, got it.
Okay, all right.
I mean that's a goal. Okay, that's a goal. I'm not saying that you know I'm a, um, um, you know, you got to be on the next level of you know, like the bodhisattva level to do something like that. Okay.
Well, no, that's how you become a bodhisattva. But yes, we work to get there. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Miss
Thank you,
Yap, you have some?
Yeah.
Yeah, Miss Yap.
Pastor, can we?
Oh, I think I accidentally muted you, Miss Yap. Can you please unmute yourself?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sorry.
Is it correct to summarize it like the happiness, that kind of happiness that is not attached to any tangible stuff? I mean, it just without anything to attach to, but you still find that kind of happiness. Should that be the renunciated happiness? I mean, like you can be happy without being attached to anything that is tangible or untangible.
Yes, you have no desire for it. You become free. You become free of your desires. That's
But you
one
are
way.
still happy in that sense.
Yes, because
Okay.
your happiness does not come from those things.
So that
Okay.
means it's a pure happiness without any attachment.
It's not quite pure happiness yet. Pure happiness we're going to get to when we come to number 4, which is the joy resulting from absorption in the first jhana. This is still how you say, like mundane level of happiness. Yeah, it's still okay. This is still happiness with discursive thinking. That's the best way to put it. Yes.
All right,
This is
thanks.
happiness with discursive thinking. Yeah. That means
Okay.
either through reasoning, you are just using, you're still within the realm of logic. So we are using logic to get to where the happiness becomes pure of itself. Okay.
All right, got it. Thanks, Pastor.
Yeah, very good questions, Ron and Miss Yap. Anyone else has any questions, just unmute your mic or you can type it in the chat box. So there's a remark, the lottery winning comes from your blessings. When you win, you are taking a lot of money from your own bank. Yes, that's one way of looking at it as well. But if you use the money wisely, although it comes from your own blessings, the whole point of generosity is using your blessings to generate more blessings. So you can say winning the lottery comes from is based on your own karma because you've done something to deserve it. Yes, but someone who's wise, who understands the Buddha's teachings, will then reinvest the money through generosity. And in the future, when you have more blessings, you are able to help more people and help bring them to the Dharma. Okay. All right. So let's come to, that was, okay. So we've covered joy due to renunciation of worldly affairs. Okay. That's where we use our forced thinking to understand more about how we interact with ourselves and the world, and get wisdom from there. And then we talked about joy associated with insight practice, becoming less dependent on the outside world through controlling your mind. And then now we'll look at joy based on contemplation of the Buddha, because what this is includes Pure Land practice. What is this? This is listening to the Dharma. This is being mindful of the Buddha, recollecting the kindness and compassion of the Buddha. For example, Amitabha Buddha creating the Pure Land so we can all go there. And why is this important? Joy, okay, that comes from the Dharma directly affects our rebirth. There are stories. There's a particular monk who became an arhat after he contemplated the joy when he saw a Buddha image. So it's not just the joy itself that will take you there. Okay, you feel joy, and then you go meditate on the joy. Okay, King Ashoka had a queen. I'm not sure how many consorts he had, but apparently he had a queen who became a first stage arhat after she listened to a bird singing, and she said, "Oh, that reminds me of the Buddha's voice." And because of that, she felt really joyous from recollecting the Buddha's voice. And by contemplating the joy, by investigating that kind of joy, she, she became a first stage arhat. So the trick here is there are certain kinds of happiness that leads to a calming of the mind. And when you are able to, say, enjoy that kind of happiness, you listen to the Dharma or you see an image of the Buddha, that kind of joy calms the mind down, and then you use that opportunity to meditate or to recite the Buddha's name. So that's the key to understanding the role of wholesome happiness. Okay, all right. Melinda has a question. My understanding of wholesome happiness is whether happy or unhappy circumstances come in, if able to remain calm or not, and not affect the feelings. Yes, that's one way of putting it. A kind of, we will come to equanimity, and this will become a bit clearer. And then the last one is the joy resulting from absorption in the dhyana. Okay, what is this? This is when you meditate to the extent that Shufu says your breathing stops. This is known as the first dhyana. So your breathing stops and your mind becomes so calm, it is said that you get a sense of joy, a sense of happiness that nothing in this world can compare to. So it's literally a joy that is out of this world or out of your world, depending on how big or small your world is. But it is out of whatever world you can experience through the six senses. It surpasses anything the world can provide. This kind of joy is possible because it goes beyond thinking and reflection. Okay, it's important to know. What makes it different is because it goes beyond thinking and reflection, which is why it is beyond it surpasses any form of joy that whatever this world you can think of that can give you, it surpasses that, even winning a $500 million lottery ticket. Yeah, and this is incidentally the first dhyana was what helped the Buddha become the Buddha. The story of the prince when he left the palace for 6 years what he did first was he encountered two teachers who taught him there are a total of 8 dhyanas, the 4 form dhyanas, which are more commonly known as the 4 dhyanas. And then above that, there are 4 further stages of concentration called the 4 formless dhyanas. And when the Buddha met his first 2 teachers as a monk, they taught him the highest 2 of the dhyanas, and the Buddha mastered that really, really quickly. There was a lot of peace in those 2 states, but the Buddha realized that when he came out from the meditation state, there was nothing had really changed. It was just a state of mind, but there was no transformation. It did not lead to an end of birth and death. So after that, for 6 years, the Buddha subjected himself to extreme, there's a word for it, extreme body. Basically, he subjected his body to the extreme where if he had gone any further, he would have, the body would have died and he would not have achieved his goal. So having realized that those 2 ways, through the body and through the 2 highest dhyanas, did not lead him to the goal, which is the end of birth and death, the Buddha remembered that when he was a young boy, sitting under the rose apple tree, the jumbo tree, he was looking at the farmers working the land. And he saw that there's a lot of suffering going on, because when the farmers were tilling the land, they dug up a lot of insects, and the insects were eaten. Not only were they burned by the sun, but they were subjected to all kinds of suffering, being eaten by birds and all that. And that, although the Buddha realized that there was a lot of suffering in the world, that kind of, reflection calmed his mind down. And even as a young boy, he entered the first dhyana. So at the end of the 6-year period where he modified his body to the extreme, and you couldn't go any further without dying, the Buddha recollected his experience in the dhyana, and he said this. He said, once when I was sitting in my father's park under the shade of a rose apple tree, I rejoiced as I attained the first level of concentration, which is free from desires and negativities, endued with good qualities, reflective, investigating, and full of joy, not born out of discrimination. So it is a joy free of desires and free of discrimination. Said, I rejoice as I attain the levels of concentration. That indeed must be the path to awakening, which can eradicate the arising of the sufferings of birth, old age, sickness, and death. And so a conviction was born in me. This is the path to awakening. So this is what this joy refers to, the joy resulting from absorption in the dhyana. Okay, all right. Saha has a question. To enter the first dhyana, you have to have planted causes and effects from previous lives. For example, when you're a monk or a nun in the life, correct? Not necessarily monastic. It doesn't have to be monastic, as long as you have practiced meditation. I think those are the causes. Yeah. And yeah, I can't say whether it can only, you will only have success if you have practiced before in the past life. I think as long as you practice, don't worry about past lives. As long as you, Saha, as long as you practice in this life, that's what matters. Yeah, because we don't know what happened in our past lives before. Yeah. Okay, now let's go on and look at, from happy feelings that are wholesome and unwholesome, now let's look at unpleasant feelings, okay? Okay, I have to get a bit quick in order to finish for today. Okay, so what are sad or unpleasant feelings that are unwholesome? All right. Buddha says these are sight, sound, smells, taste, touch, and thoughts that are likable, desirable, agreeable, connected to the world's material delights. Sadness arises when you regard it as a loss to lose such sights, okay, and as well as the senses, the smell, taste, touch, objects of the 6 objects, or when you recollect those you formerly lost that have passed, ceased, and perished. Such sadness is called lay sadness. Okay, so everyone knows what is unhappiness. Okay, using the analogy of the lottery, you find out you won the lottery, but either the ticket is stolen from you, or you lose the money, someone robs you of the money, or they scam you out of the money. You know, that's one thing that can bring you unhappiness. And then a few years later, you think back, oh, I remember that time when I won the lottery, and then someone cheated me of all my money, and then you get sad all over again. So it's not just losing what you have, but remembering that you lost it also brings you unhappiness. Not getting what you want, you buy the lottery hoping to win and you don't win, that brings you unhappiness as well. Compare yourself with your neighbors and your friends. They have a better house, better families, better car, their children are more successful, etc., etc., etc. Makes you unhappy. So I think we're all familiar with unwholesome unhappiness. We don't really have to go through that. But there is something called, okay, why is it unwholesome? Well, not only it's unpleasant, but it distracts us and it prevents us from being able to practice and contemplate. And it prevents us from performing good deeds. It's very hard when you feel that you're in an unfortunate situation to try to help people. So that's why it's considered as unwholesome. All right, okay. Now, what are sad feelings that are wholesome? It might seem contradictory. Okay. Being an example of being sad, but it's a wholesome feeling, is the fact that you realize you are not enlightened yet. And you have a desire to be free from birth and death as you realize everything is impermanent. That's an example of a wholesome sadness. So through right understanding, you realize, oh, my thoughts come and go. They never stay the same. You realize your body ages, your body changes, and is beyond your control. You can take care of your body all you want, but in the end, your body will just betray you. That's a given, and so people who fall sick, then they realize, oh, this is beyond, no matter how much I wish, it's beyond my control. Yeah. So this is an example, and because of that, you yearn to be free. You practice at the same time, and you yearn. It's not that you have how you say. It's a okay. One thing in chant meditation, you should not say, "Oh, I'm sitting because I want to be enlightened," because your mind has to be free even of those desires. Okay, but there is a wholesome desire to want to be enlightened. So that's considered the wholesome part. All right. So there's a story of how this can work. There was a lady who could not join her parents to a Dharma event because she was pregnant. And so I think the parents wanted to keep her safe. Maybe there was a big crowd. So they all went to this pagoda, but she couldn't go because she was pregnant. And she became sad, blaming that, maybe I've done some bad karma in the past that prevents me from going to visit the monks and hearing the Dharma event. But then she saw a lot of people walking past, all being able to attend, and she felt joy for them. She felt that this is called empathetic joy. When she saw that other people were able to go, she was happy for them, and she was able to turn her sadness around into ecstasy. And it is said that that joy made her be able to fly through the air and attend the Dharma event. Yeah, I don't have the source for this story, so I don't know if it's true or not, but this is in one of the commentaries. Yeah. Okay, so that's wholesome sadness. All right. Now let's move to the third one. Okay.
Sure.
Yes, Ron.
Can I
Yes.
ask a question? The
Yes,
last
Ron.
sentence in that last slide, when you give rise to yearning for the supreme liberation like this, sadness arises because of the yearning. Are you saying that it's not right to have that sadness, or
No,
what do you,
it is right for someone who practices.
the
So
supreme liberation means the ending of birth and death, right?
yes. So I'll read that. I'll read that again. It says, upon seeing this, you give rise to yearning for the supreme liberations, and it is, oh, when will I enter and remain in the same dimension that the noble ones enter and remain in today? When you give rise to yearning for the supreme liberations like this, sadness arises because of the yearning. So it's not a sadness like how you say, like a weeping, you beat your heart, you tear your hair out kind of sadness. Anyway, monastics don't have hair. But you know what I mean? It's not that kind of sadness that overwhelms the mind and prevents one from practice, but it is a realization that you haven't achieved your goal.
So let me just take this question just one step further. When you come to that yearning, is that the time to like do the Bodhi resolve? I mean, the resolve for Bodhi?
I think that's part of it. I think for everyone is different. I would think that the Bodhi resolve comes before that.
Well,
the Bodhi resolve.
like, who wants to die right now? I mean, you tell me any, I mean, wholesome, I mean, any red-blooded, person enjoying life or tolerating life, who would want to think about death? I mean, making a Bodhi resolve, like, I want to die and I want to stop birth and death. I mean, I want to do that. I mean, I don't even have a concept of what birth and death is, I mean,
Oh, Ron,
I know that it's
Ron,
death.
okay, Ron, supreme liberation does not mean dying. Okay. During the Buddha's time, there were a lot of arhats walking around, like nobody's business. Okay,
Yeah.
there were a lot of enlightened people who have ended birth and death. They're walking around and you wouldn't know. You understand? So liberation is ending birth and death. It does not mean entering death.
Okay.
Nowhere does it say supreme liberation is you die on the spot. No.
No. I didn't mean that, but I tell you, when I first I'll keep it short, but when I first, became a Buddhist and somebody told me about birth and death, I really had a sadness over that, like, man, I don't know if I gotten into the wrong religion or not here, because, they're talking about dying. And for almost a year, I thought about, like, it was sad to think about dying, I mean,
that's where I say, that's where the Buddha gave the advice. When you listen to the Dharma, you have to go back to the sutras and learn for yourself.
Okay.
So yeah, so basically, supreme liberation or awakening or enlightenment just means you are in control of yourself. You are no longer bound by death.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a question. We
Yes,
are
please.
layman, we are human.
Yes.
I mean, what is wrong for having these kind of natural feelings? Because nobody can, I mean, it's why are we not accepting your own feelings, your own thoughts? I just don't get the
Okay.
idea out of this.
Okay, this is not a judgment thing. This is not saying that, oh, you're wrong or you're bad or anything like that. This is just the Buddha describing the different kinds of happiness. So there's wholesome happiness, then there's unwholesome kind of happiness. And it all depends on the individual's aspirations. It all depends on the intentions of the individual on what they want out of life. For example, there was a, how was it? I know the source, but I can't remember right now. There was a couple who was very much in love, and they wanted to be together life after life. And they went to see the Buddha, and they asked the Buddha how to become how could they achieve the aim? And the Buddha taught them how to be husband and wife in life after life. The Buddha didn't say, oh, this is bad, this is unwholesome because it's based on emotion and therefore you should put it down and get enlightened. No, the Buddha didn't do that. This, what I'm sharing with you in this sutra, is first of all, the Buddha speaking to Shakra, who wanted, okay, you have to remember from last week, I said that Shakra asked all these questions because he knew he was going to die. Shakra knew that his end was near, and therefore he went to the Buddha and asked the questions, hoping to find a way out of death. So that's one context for this back and forth question and answering between Shakra and the Buddha. Number two, some of what the Buddha explained here, like especially for renunciate, when the between the lay and renunciate sadness, the renunciate part was explained for monks. It's only for people who have made the decision to shave off their hair and leave behind the home life and full-time pursue how to end death, birth and death. So you have to take that into account as well. So it's not, the sutras are not a judgment kind of thing, like in the mundane world when they say bad or good, or you should do this or you should do that. No, it is just the Buddha explaining, okay, if you have this kind of happiness, if you are interested, be aware that this kind of happiness will lead, let's say, like for example, unwholesome or lay happiness, it never ends. First of all, that happiness is fleeting, and you can see this for yourself, whether you can look at yourself, your own experiences, whether it's true or not. And the Buddha says that, so what happens is when the happiness goes away, you find yourself trying to get that happiness back, and you want more. And that satisfaction is very hard to satisfy. So it's just a never-ending cycle of trying to get happiness, and then happiness goes away, and then you want more happiness, and happiness goes away, and then you want more happiness. That's all the Buddha is saying.
So, Faster, is it right to say like this is something just to let us know and compare what is the true fact, and it is not a goal that we should actually work towards? I mean, it's good to have it, but then it's not like you must work towards renunciate sadness, renunciate happiness. I mean, you can still be yourself, but you have an understanding that this is impermanent.
Yes, precisely. Because, okay, so among all of you, okay, there might be someone totally new to Buddhism like Ron. And okay, Ron is not totally new, but say someone totally new to Buddhism and they encounter this and they say, oh, this is a lot to take in. Like, I didn't know that. I thought Buddhism was about achieving happiness, and this is a bit too much. Why? Because to them, they haven't even thought about ending birth and death. That question has not arose yet. And all they are looking for is a way to be a responsible father, mother, brother, sister, and how can they lead a proper lay life and without committing untoward offenses. But then, on the different end, there might be someone who is seriously thinking about leaving home. And this person's intentions is very, very different. They say, I really, in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I really want to shave my hair, give up my career. I don't want to get married because of this. And I want to find a good monastery, and I want to find an end to birth and death. And then when they encounter this sutra, it's very revealing for them. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, so I should be very careful, because even when I get good things, the happiness, I should be mindful of the happiness and not get attached.
Okay, thank you, Faster. By the way, I'm also very new. I hope I don't raise too many questions for you.
No, I really enjoy questions. So when I present, I don't really know who's listening. So that's where your questions make it come alive. And also me as someone who's presenting the Dharma, it reminds me of who I'm presenting to and how to tailor the Dharma to how to make the Dharma come alive for everyone. Okay. So
Thanks, Pastor.
yeah, so all this comes from your intentions. Yeah, it's not the Buddha saying you have to do this or you have to do that, but it is okay. Oh, you want, it is more a case of, oh, you want to do this, okay, this is what you need to be watchful for. Oh, you want to have a good family life. There are a lot of sutras where the Buddha taught people how to become a responsible parent, how to become a responsible lay people. He never said that, oh, you have to, the only way is to be a monastic. No, he only spoke about those topics for people who were already monastics. Oh, so I hope that's helpful. Okay, we are above time. I have to rush because I have to be the proctor for the meal offering. So I did not get to go to indifference or equanimity, and we shall do that next week. All right. For now, let me end this slideshow. Okay, and then let me get the slide for, oh, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to invite everyone in joining me in putting our palms together. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Okay, let's do 3 bows to the Buddha. Okay, first bow. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Bowing respect to the Venerable Master. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Okay, everyone. Very good questions. I hope we will have more and more questions in the future. Because if not, I'm not really sure if the Dharma connects or not. Okay, we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Pastor.